when I should have let myself but I couldn't have. Oh no, I couldn't have. I always open my gut when I shouldn't have. Oh no, I shouldn't have.
Chief, the floor is yours.
Okay, so what is it like being a woman in perimenopause? It is weird. I think that's the easiest way to describe it. So everything that you've known for like the last 30, 40 years just goes, and stuff that's never happened to you before happens, but you're still going about your regular, normal life. And it's like, oh, okay, this hasn't happened before, but apparently this is going to start happening from now on. So for example, personally speaking, I had my very first anxiety attack, like completely out of nowhere, like on the M6 of all places. Like I was driving and stuck in traffic in the fast lane, surrounded by other cars, and just had this massive panic attack. And I was taking my kids to school and it was horrible. I just got so hot. I had to put the window down. The kids were like, what's going on? Because we're sitting, like I say, in the middle of the motorway, just out of nowhere. And it's like, well, I didn't see that coming, because I was on that motorway almost every day.
Wow.
And then it happened a few more times after that, always when I was driving. There was another time I was going over that massive bridge from Wales to Bristol.
Oh yeah. Fuck, what's it called?
I don't know, it's just this massive, and I've never been on it before, and I was like, holy crap. It was like the Golden Gate Bridge, and my son was asleep next to me because he just falls asleep in the car. I woke him up and he went, is this scary? So again, just out of nowhere. So never had anything like that. No kind of anxiety, no kind of panic attacks. And all of a sudden you start getting them. And it's like, okay, that's strange.
How did you deal with that?
So, well, obviously being a health coach, I was like, what can I do? And because I'm driving, and so I've got very few other options. I'm in a confined space. So breath work, straight to breath work, which, that did help. It really did. And the fact that I was able to do that, just, yeah, it served me well. And I spoke to a GP about it, and he was saying, oh, well, we could do some anti-anxiety medicine. And I was like, well, yeah, but the breathing worked. And it's happened 3 times. So I'm not going to go on meds for something which has happened 3 times, which I was able to deal with. But yeah, so breath work, it works, do it. So there's a few that I like. There's 7-11, where, breathe in for 7, out for 11. 4-7-8, where you breathe in for 4, hold for 7, out for 8, repeat 4 times. It's literally whatever works for you that you can remember to do in that moment. And that's what's helped me, and has got clients being able to do things that they've struggled with.
Have they all been perimenopause, or have they been dealing with panic attacks and anxiety attacks elsewhere?
Yeah, some generalized anxiety as well, because I used to coach part-time there's an organization in Manchester called Big Life. And what they do, it's very, very cool. They provide health coaching to people who, if they go to a GP, the GP can't solve the problem. So, in that 10, 12-minute appointment. And so they refer them to a health coach. And most people haven't got a clue what a health coach is or what we do or anything. So literally, I would be speaking with people from whatever walk of life, you name it. I have spoken to somebody in Manchester about it. So just incredibly broad. So from my point of view, it was really interesting, because I was going into these calls not knowing anything about the person. Well, very brief, demographic information. But with regards to their actual situation and what we could do to resolve it, it was totally blind. So it was incredibly interesting to understand exactly how coaching can help somebody in that situation. And I had clients who were homeless, severe mental health problems, like really severe, you name it. Like, and I would get a client with weight loss issues, and I'm just like, easy. That is so much more straightforward to be dealing with weight loss than, well, pretty much any of the other things. You know, physical health, I think, is a lot more straightforward than mental health.
Well, there's the thing, right? Like usually it's
So
it's related.
Oh, it's always related, 100%. It's and that's the thing. It's like, okay, where does one start and one stop? And I've seen that as well with my kids. I've got 3 kids, 2 boys, 1 girl. The boys play rugby. If they get injured and they can't play, like one of them, you know, broke his leg and he was not able to play for months. And everyone's talking about the spiral fracture in his leg. And in fact, it was his mental health that I was worried about, because this thing that he absolutely loved doing, that got rid of so much stress and all the rest of it, couldn't do anymore, stuck on the sofa, not able to go outside, not getting vitamin D, all of that, it all compounds, and nobody is speaking about mental health. And I just, it's something I see, you know, just because of their exposure to sport.
Yeah, I think sport does a really good job of putting a band-aid on a broken leg, to use a pretty bad pun. Because you know, you can hide a lot of things within the adrenaline-filled sport. 80 minutes, 90 minutes, 60 minutes. You know, you're always running around, you're doing this, you're training for it, then you're, you know, spending your time in other activities, extracurricular, especially in school. If you're that way inclined, like you're always filling your time. It's like, okay, cool. Well, you're diverting your attention elsewhere. But what's going on? And you get that little identity crisis whenever they go to uni or around that age, you know, 18 or 22. Sport kind of goes on the back burner, right? So they do less sport. They do a little bit more of the old drinking. Or if they don't, maybe they don't go to uni and they just work, you know, and it just means they don't have enough time to go play sport anymore. And you see the quote unquote identity crisis come a little bit towards the quarter life rather than midlife. And I think that's just because it's been like a band-aid on with sport, you know, with sport or even academics. You know, someone's just always in the books. They wanted to go to Oxford, Cambridge, you know, wherever else. It's like, yeah, we are hiding away from ourselves a little bit too much, I think, and not understanding what's actually going on. So when you say that mental health piece, I completely agree with you. You know, it's like, yeah, this kid needs to end up building the leg back up so that he can weight bear and move around. Yeah, fantastic. But what happens? What's his mental health like when he's sat on that couch? Not in 6 months' time when I hopefully give him an egg again, so that he can chuck it around and run after it. I was like, no. What about now?
Yeah. And I think that's it's just ignored, right? It doesn't even, it's not even a conversation that happens. And I see it with my other son too. I mean, his approach is very much, I'll just worry about the stuff I can control. So right now I can't control what XYZ needs to fix, you know, shoulder, whatever it is. It seems to be a different thing every week, to be honest with you, between the pair of them. So, but his approach is just, I can't control that. I can control how I view it and how I spend my time now. And that's, I guess, it's just a different approach. But, you know, at least he's considering that, well, what am I doing now? That mental element of it.
Has that come from yourself?
No, I think it came from a book on rugby. Probably by a New Zealander.
Oh, fantastic. It's funny, you got to learn those, you know, we see it in the gym all the time. Like those coaches have a conversation about it. It's like, you got to learn those individuals in front of you and just adapt it to their world. You know, we could throw up terms wherever. You and I can sit over a coffee and just geek out about these things. And throw terms. Oh, we got to focus on this, that, and the other. It's like they don't care. They don't care. They want to play rugby. They want to go out on a weekend. They want to be able to pick up their grandkid. Whatever term works for them, right? And you've got to. Like it was funny this morning. I basically told a member if he does something wrong, he owes me $50. And the next thing you know, he didn't do it wrong all class. And you're like, well, there you go. Instantly it's like, okay, he's money driven. Mint. I've got that one here. Somebody else that might not work for him. So you've got to slightly adjust it. And you made a great point with the GP. What's the average time in front of a GP? 8 minutes or something, 7 minutes. It's under 10, isn't it? It's crazy. And they do an incredible job, and they've got to be the general practitioner, right? We look at them as like God. It's like whatever they say is gospel. It's like, yes, but they need to know a little bit of everything, and then they just kind of refer on to other places. I think that's why what you do is really important, because you'll become that referral process of like, well, you got to go over here now. You can't just be like, okay, here's a prescription, get out of my face. And I think that's really dangerous. People just rely on crutches, and I don't mean in the physical sense. I mean, like, where's the pill? It's like, no, that might be the option. That might be the right option. But have we explored other things? Have we had hard conversations of like, what's actually going on?
Yeah. And that's certainly from the functional health point of view, that's what it all comes down to. It's all about, okay, but what's the cause? What's the root cause here? What's underlying? So it's like, how can you get to that? And obviously we're all different. It's like with diet, there's not one diet that's going to work 100% of the time for everybody. It's very, hit and miss. You've got to explore it. It depends on what's going on, especially with women, depends on where they are in the cycle. It's very, it's incredibly diverse. And that whole taking an approach of effectively N of one, like, okay, I'm my own, I'm the data. I'm going to figure out what works for me and what works best. But you've got to be quite rigorous in that. And I find that people only really get to that when they're unwell, and it's like they've explored lots of other options.
Yeah, they have to break, right? They've got to break slightly. They've got to go through a traumatic experience. They got to hurt themselves in sport or the gym, and I don't mean something mega serious. You've got to have something so serious that you're like, oh, in fact, prevention is the best medicine. But something not so serious that it's irreversible. And it's a really fine balance, because you can't show somebody something that they're not willing to see.
No. And I find as well, sometimes, you can have the same conversation 4 or 5 times, and it's on the 7th time that it clicks, and they go, oh, okay, and I'm going to take it forward in this way, and that's what's going to work for me. And that's fine. It's just a question of meeting people where they are at that time. It's like with HRT in the UK at the moment, right? There's a big movement to, yes, HRT is going to fix everything with perimenopause. And for a group of women, yes, it will. But for the vast majority, there's so much else they can do, from, for example, diet, lifestyle. There's a lot that you need to fix first. And HRT is not going to come in and all of a sudden, oh yeah, well, that's going to fix your sleep, and that's somehow going to magically improve your diet.
Yeah.
That does not work like that. So if you want to max out that benefit of the additional hormones, getting your diet, lifestyle, sleep, stress is massive. And I think it's one of those things that we don't talk about it. And I think women especially they're doing so much. If they're juggling kids, perhaps looking after elderly parents, work, the house, dogs. My dog's just arrived here at my knee because he literally can't bear to be away from me for 20 seconds. It's juggling all that stuff, and that creates this quite high base level of stress. So it doesn't take much to completely tip you off the edge of it.
Yeah, man. And the biggest thing is that sleep. If we get an hour less, stress just gets multiplied. A little more than an hour, it goes multiplied even more. And it's easy for us to sit here and you get your 9 hours. I don't get my 9 hours. right? But it's a work in progress. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, we need to be able to be a little bit more aware rather than like, all right, yeah, let's do the HRT. All right, let's just jump on the pills and then everything else I can still do my pies in the middle of the day, you know, and it's like, just eat something green for a minute, will you? And like, let's be a little consistent. You know, I'd rather it be 50-50. You know, somebody goes to the gym or a Zumba class once a week, goes for a walk once a week. So you got two conscious days or two conscious activities in a week where you're moving for your body. And then you're just consistent with that for
Yeah.
3 years. I would rather you do that than you see me 5 days a week and then I don't see you in 6 months' time. You know, again,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just building the blocks real slowly.
And I think it's almost like when you say go for a walk, it sounds too simple. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't have to pay for it. I can just do it without buying any fancy gear. I could literally do it right now if it wasn't dark. I can go do it. And it does make this, it is transformative, even 10 minutes. If you're having a pretty crappy day, 10 minutes away from your desk, away from whatever's causing you a problem, because again, your body's responding to that movement, isn't it?
And also where your mind can go within that 10
So,
minutes.
yeah.
You know, we're always stimulated mentally, you know, because we're looking at a laptop or an email, or if we're not doing that, we're looking at an email on a phone, right? And if we're not doing that, we're scrolling through something. If we're not doing that, we're texting someone, or we got a book in front of our face, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but we're always trying to consume something. And I often wonder how much quote unquote dead time we have to think about our own thoughts and to kind of check in with the self and be like, right, what's the service engine like? How am I feeling today? Am I a little bit, maybe I'm a little bit groggy, maybe I'm a little bit tired, a little agitated. I should show a bit more patience to someone else so I don't fucking snap their face off. You know, it was like, no, that's a me problem. I got to do that. You know, and if we're always just here, there, and everywhere, okay, consume, we're gonna have a conversation. You're gonna jump down someone's throat. You're gonna take something personally. You're gonna start. You know, it's like just give yourself fucking 10 minutes, will you? 5 minutes. You know, when the kettle's boiling, don't pick up the phone. Just stare out the window. You know, stare at a wall or
Yeah.
something. Let everything kind of. But again, it seems too simple.
Yeah. And then you get that whole thing of, I don't have time for that.
I don't have
I don't
time.
have time to do nothing.
Mm. Mm.
So I think we do overcomplicate it. And I think if everybody, well, I say that I think right now, if you look at, let's say, the last 20 years, things have moved so quickly with regards to technology, and our bodies, we haven't caught up. We're still, a little removed from a caveman woman person. So it's that I think is really tricky. And we are playing catch up, and our minds are one place, our bodies are another, and there's just so much stuff all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there will be a shift. I think there's gonna have to be a shift in the way people live. You know, it's consumerism, materialism, speed, you know, grind, hustle, all that type of nonsense. That's just like go, 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 go. It's exponential. Yeah, but what happens? Like, it can't just keep getting faster and faster. You know, we're organic, you know, and like, you know, we can have conversations with your parents, your grandparents, their grandparents, read things that they wrote, hear stories that they passed down. And, you know, Northwest based, both of us. Okay, well, they're based in the mines. They worked in there since they were single figures. They worked in there until they were double figures and died. I was like, is that what we're supposed to do? Like literally grind yourself into a fine powder and then pass it on to the next one. I was like, there must be something more within us that is not just manual labor.
Yeah.
And now we've just related it to you sit at home and you're on your laptop, but you're still a laborer. You're still, you know, I hate to use the freaking cynical quote, but the cog in the machine, right? I was like, yeah, but
Mhm.
what else is there? Like, what else? What else is there in you and the organization and the family next to you and, you know, life? There has to be.
But that, I think, is part of the problem, is that, to your point, we are all individual, and we are, like, people aren't going back into the office and things. People are still choosing to work from home. And that element of community, that's gone. And I think that is absolutely massive, and is probably, you know, that could be the next big thing in healthcare. I mean, we saw that, like, so when I was at Big Life, one of the things we would refer to would be like community gardening and things like that, to get people outside. And I think, yes, it's the gardening, but it's also the fact you're doing it with a load of other people. It's
Yeah.
not you by yourself. And
Listen,
like, literally, there was so many things that you could refer out to, but it was all community based. You were not sending anybody off anywhere by themselves unless it was counselling.
let's be honest, people are scared to do it now. People are scared to do it with other folks. You know, it's weird. They find it weird.
Yeah, but why is it weird?
It's a great question. I'm in the same boat. I don't know. I think maybe these things that, you know, the technology is subconsciously extracted us from physical presence, I guess. Maybe COVID, you know, locked in, a little bit of fear based in there. I think it's a combination of everything. But I mean, you'll see it all the time. Like, people seem like they're sleepwalking.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Or they are so busy, and they are literally just going from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and they don't have chance. And then something is going to happen which will just take them off their feet. There'll be
Oh
some
yeah,
kind of emergency, either to them or to an immediate family member, and then it's like, well, how do I deal with that when I'm just so, in inverted commas, busy, got too much on?
oh yeah. And there's two things that's going to happen there, right? You're either going to break, or you're going to bury your head in the sand so deep that you basically miss what's going on, and then whenever you resurface, it breaks you. So it's coming.
Yeah,
Like, it
yeah,
is going to wipe you off your feet.
yeah. It's going to happen. And
Yeah.
I see that, and I think that that's one of the reasons why people, you know, why they are eating the wrong foods
Yeah.
and drinking too much. It's a form of escapism, because everything else, it's just too much.
Which is sound, right? But you have to understand that you are escaping. You know, it's okay to load yourself up into Ready Player One, but you have to get out of it. You know, if you need to kick back and watch a little bit of telly in the evening, like, no problem. But if you're sat there all day for 24 hours in the day watching telly, then we got a problem.
Yeah.
You know, it's that little pick your poison. And I think yeah, you know, people in fitness are a little extreme. We're a little crazy, right? And a lot of folks have addictive personalities and they swing the other way. You know, they've had troubles with alcoholism, they've had troubles with gambling, they've had troubles with sex, whatever it is, right? They've had issues, and they basically replace one addiction with the next, and they go absolutely hard as nails into fitness. And you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, but that's going to also break you, right? And it's like you are trying to run away from yourself, from the addict, quote unquote, but you still are. You just replaced it.
Yeah.
And I think the main point is we can't run away from ourselves. We have to face it. You have to put a sheet of glass in front of you and that mirror and be like, okay, well, that's kind of how I'm hardwired. All right, well, we need to understand it. Yeah, you can get into the hippy dippy stuff and like give yourself some compassion and some love and stuff. And I was like, but I think it fucking works. You know, like, you have to understand that's how you work. So then you can work to be constructive with it rather than, again, head in the sand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we
And I
break.
think, again, that's one of the things that happens with women coming through perimenopause, is that all those balls are being juggled, and because their hormones are okay, they can manage it. They've got their lovely progesterone making everything calm and nice. Then all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, it declines, and it's like, well, it's not there anymore, and it's almost like your shock absorbers have gone. And it's like, okay, so something that wouldn't have phased you 6 months ago, now it's going to turn you into a hot mess. And it's just because your hormones that you've been able to kind of skirt around and get away with, gone, just gone.
Mm.
And people aren't prepared for that. They're not prepared for that feeling as well. It's tough. And I think it comes down to identity as well, where, to your point, what is somebody's self-identity? Because if that's changing, or they're seeing themselves how they were 5 years ago, then again, they're going to be in for a shock.
And it doesn't help that nobody else understands what's going to happen. We barely scrape through sexual education in school, but we touch nothing about what happens to ladies. Not a single conversation, nothing. Right. And you're like, well, that's not going to help. So when you're thrust into that, as it will happen in life, you're sort of looking around and everyone's like, I don't have a fucking idea. Like, why are you looking at me? It's like, well, I don't know. Maybe we come together and help each other out. And I think it's an issue, mate. Like I think it's fantastic when ladies group together with other ladies and we help it out. But I think it's an issue that dudes are completely ignorant to it.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it does affect everybody. So,
yeah.
Because if I'm having a bad day, pretty much everyone around me is going to know it. My dog's going to know it. It's like, it's because it's not my job to make you guys feel better about it. It's like, no, this is happening right now and it's a bit crappy, and it is what it is. I'm going to get through it, obviously, using any technique I can, but obviously it's far from ideal. And if other people don't know you're going through it, then they're going to be a lot less. They'll be like, what is going on with her today?
Yeah. And we fall into the trap of trying to understand feelings a lot, right? And you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense, so they just must be crazy. I was like, feelings don't make sense, mate. They don't. Most of the time, they're just completely irrational. I was like, okay, well, if you can express it and somebody can receive it, and we'd be like, okay, what do we need to do to get through this? I don't know. We're going to figure it out. Okay, we'll do that together. As simple as that. It takes 7 seconds, and then a little bit of elbow grease together so it halves the load. It doesn't make sense. But again, we like to live head in sand. We like to live eyes on phone. I don't think dudes help. I really don't. But we are the idiots of the species.
Well, I think my teenage boys know more than they want to know about the perimenopause.
That's a good thing, mate. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
And my husband will just roll his eyes and go, "Are you menopausing?" I'm just like, shut up.
Yeah. There's a button here and you're just pressing the abort.
But it's really funny because he thinks he's very evolved just because he's using the word. I'm like, yeah, thanks.
But again, that's a male brain. We're just chimpanzees up there. Honestly. Chimpanzees with thumbs, like just dumb parts of the species. But hey, I got 3 questions.
Okay.
What's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
It'll pass.
Ooh.
It's all just time filtering by, right? So no matter how crappy things are right now, and the flip, this is the thing as well, I think people don't fully appreciate. It's like, it's not, you can't just take the good stuff and ignore the bad stuff, and obviously vice versa. So if something's fantastic right now, yes, that's brilliant, but guess what? It's not going to last. Same thing, right? If it's completely shit right now, Also, it's not going to last. So you've just got to keep on.
Keep calm and carry on, right? Good old British way.
Yeah, I mean, stiff upper lip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a reason why these old sayings are old sayings.
Yeah. Yeah. There are some wisdom within it. What's the worst piece of life advice you've ever received?
The worst piece. Sell that flat. we were leaving London in 2001, and that flat that we sold that was in Islington went from a couple of $100,000 to $1 million. Oh. Don't sell the flat. Yeah. It was a nearly 3-bedroom, kind of 2.5 bedroom with a garden and parking space in Islington. And we sold it because we were moving to New York, even though it was only a temporary move. I do not know what we were thinking, but we sold it, made a little bit of money, and yeah, that's that's still with me.
Yeah. Now London real estate is just, you're not getting near it.
No. And that flat, I would love to be able to have that tiny little flat.
Yeah. Oof. I lived in Tooting for a while.
Yeah.
So I know London a little bit. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So yeah, but I think that is don't sell the flat.
I got one more question. What are the 3 words you would tell your younger self?
Don't sell the flat. No, that's 4. And I've already had it. See, I'm automatically thinking now about real estate. So I'm thinking buy the flat, but buy more flats. Yeah. I guess 3 words is really difficult because obviously you know the benefit of hindsight and all of that. It's I'd keep it simple. It's just don't overthink it. And overthink's 1 word, even if you're going to tell me it's 2.
Hey, listen, I'm blonde. I trust your word.
Yeah, overthink. Yeah, because I think a lot of women spend a lot of time in that, just having way too many thoughts and going around in way too many circles. And it's just like, just do one thing, it'll work or it won't work.
Yeah.
The world isn't going to end, it'll carry on. You'll be able to fix it if it wasn't right. Obviously, with the exception of repurchasing things in London. You can sort it out. Yeah. I hadn't thought about that flat in ages. This is quite upsetting.
I'm sorry. I would like to, I would offer some charity to help buy it back, but fuck no, that's not going to happen. Like, there is no way. London, just me and London have a love-hate relationship. I hate it. Can't stand it.
Well, I was there at the weekend and it was really, really busy. Just too busy, too many people. And I was there with my daughter visiting her, and I said, "Oh, I really like this during COVID." When no one was going out and it was all quiet and it was all nice.
It's great for a short time, if you want to, Christmas time, want to do a pub crawl or go to the markets or whatever. Like, I think London is great for a short time, but fuck living there, it's just anxiety. Oh, I'm talking a couple of days.
I was there for a couple of days and it was too long. So
Perfect. The north is better.
it is. The people are much nicer, much more friendly, much more open, and it's, yeah, not as busy.
Manchester is the greatest city on earth. I would die on that hill.
How about you don't live there?
I've not lived there for a long time, like 14 years, maybe. Maybe
Right.
maybe a little more. You know, you gotta see the world. The world is a big place. But
True.
it will always have a special place in my heart, even if I never live there again.
It's a nice city. It is a nice city.
Right. Thank you so much for your time. This has been an honor and a privilege.
No problem. Lovely to talk to you.
I hope you have a wonderful evening and we'll speak soon.
Cheers.
Thanks,
See you
pal.
later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.